Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
Good to have you once again. This is Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, and I'm the host, Omobola Stephen. On Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, we would like to focus on personal development and self-improvement because we understand the personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we must embrace in order for us to move from where we are to where we need to be. All the innate gift sets that we think that we have within can only come to the fore and be maximized when we personally develop ourselves. It's worth the effort at the end of the day. So I urge you not to give up on it. Today, I have Dave Albin, who is the #1 Firewalk Instructor in America on today's show. Hello, Dave Albin. Welcome to Life Well Lived.
Thanks for having me, Omobola. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you joining me on the show today. I'm looking forward to a great time, especially we like to talk about firewalking. Now, firewalking is such a life-changing experience. Why is this so, Dave?
You know, that's really a great question. I've been asked, and, I don't know that I have, I have my answer. I don't know that I'll have maybe some of your listeners answer what they want to hear, right? Here's what we know. We know that the act itself has been around for 1,000 years, and it's been used by cultures all over the world. For example, the Phoenicians, the people of India. Oh my gosh, you ought to see some of the pictures of what they do over there as far as firewalking. It's very celebrant. It's a rite of passage. It is. They use it for ceremonies. They use it for weddings. They use it for births. They use it for graduations. They use it for manhood, womanhood. I've even read where they have used firewalking to see if you're lying. So the Polynesians, the Hawaiians, the Native American Indians, the people of Portugal, the Spaniards. I mean, again, it's been around a long, long time. So Tony Robbins brought firewalking to the West, to America. And, he did his research, and he knew that based on that research, that a firewalk can literally be one of the most life-changing experiences any human will ever go for. Or go through, I should say. And so he decided to add it to his seminar, Unleash the Power Within, the Firewalk Experience, 4-day event. You do the firewalk on day 1. And, I went to my first Tony Robbins seminar in 1995, and I did my first firewalk. And I'll tell you straight up, I have no problem admitting this. I did not want to do it. In fact, I was not going to do it. It sounded completely crazy to me. It sounded completely insane, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And when I got there, after being in a room with Tony Robbins for 10 hours, the night of the firewalk, he started at 2 p.m. Next thing I know, it's after midnight. And all of a sudden, Tony goes, "Take your shoes off." And I'm like, "Oh, no. You're not tricking me." Long story short, next thing you know, he's got you chanting and clapping. You get outside, you got African drums. People are screaming and yelling and carrying on. There's people there to support you. And so one of Tony's people literally helped me walk across the fire that night. And without a doubt, it was the most life-changing experience of my entire life.
Now, talking about firewalk, like the question I'd like to ask you is, what really caused you to go out and start Firewalk production? An inspiration?
What did it take for me to do that?
That's right. What prompted you? What is this spark?
Wow, great question. Well, at that point, when I started Firewalk Productions in 2014, I had already been around the personal development industry for just a little shy of 20 years. I'd been working for Tony for almost 20 years. I was in charge of all his firewalks starting back. I got really involved in 1996, 1997, 2003. I took over all his firewalks. And so during that time, we walked hundreds of thousands of people. Well, then in 2014, my phone rang, and it was Google. And they called me and they said, "Hey, are you the Dave Albin that does the Firewalk for Tony Robbins?" I'm like, "Yes. What can I do for you?" And they said, "Well, if you're not under any contractual obligation or non-compete, we'd like to talk to you about hiring you." Oh, okay. Well, I'm not under any non-compete. I'm a free agent. What you got going on? So the next thing I know, Google's hiring me. And it went from there. That was the moment where I said, you know what? There's a huge demand for life-changing corporate team building experiences like firewalking. And so Firewalk Productions was born in 2014, and we've been going hot and heavy ever since.
Really? Now, has anyone been seriously burnt in this process?
Is there what?
Has anyone seriously been burnt? Have they been burnt in this process?
No, serious. Well, you use the word seriously. So let's use that word. Has anyone ever been seriously hurt or burnt firewalking?
That's right.
With me, with us, where I was there? No. Have they been burnt out there elsewhere? It's my understanding, yes, they have. But not doing it with me, absolutely not. Now, let's be candid. The coals are 1,000 degrees. Can you get a blister? A little blister on your foot? Yes, you sure can. Well, how often do we get blistered in life? Every day, right? But no one's ever been hospitalized. No one's ever been seriously hurt. And, it's interesting is that it's a lot safer than you would think because people don't know. They have no idea. They don't know what goes into it. They don't know how the setup goes. They don't know what we do to make sure that people are safe. And the last thing we want to do is hurt somebody. What we want to do is change their life. We want to create a paradigm shift, right? So they go, wow, if I can walk on coals that are 1,000 degrees and not burn myself, what else can I do? So that's really our goal.
Oh, thanks, Dave Albin, for sharing that with us. So what really is a glasswalk experience?
Sure. So the glasswalk experience is, sometimes firewalking isn't always logistically possible. And so we created another experience. We created what's called the glasswalk experience. In fact, when Google hired me, that's what we did. And so we teach people how to walk on broken glass. And if you're going to ask if anybody let's just go ahead and ask it. Has anybody ever been seriously cut? No. There's been two. Now, I set a world record in Paris with a glass walk. That was in 2019. And we glass walked over 1,500 people. So I have glass walked thousands of people. Has anybody ever been cut? Yes. 2. Number 1, my son. We're in Paris. And so when somebody walks, the people have to lift their foot up. We look at it and we take a brush and we wipe off their feet. That way there's no pieces of glass stuck to their foot. And so we're very, very careful about that. Well, when people are walking on glass, little pieces of glass will shoot out onto the carpet. Well, my son was wearing pants with no knees. You know how the kids wear today, right? Holes in their pants and all that. Sure enough, my son put his knee down on a little tiny piece of glass and cut his knee. So he wasn't even walking. He was just, you shouldn't. That's my fault. I should have said, hey, don't wear kneeless pants. In fact, you probably should wear knee pads. And so you make sure you don't. And then we had one lady one time, and again, when you walk on glass, when you get to the end, you have to stop. And we have to inspect and wipe your feet. Well, she was so excited that she had got to the end, she jumped off the glass. There was a little piece of glass stuck to her foot. guess what it did? It cut her foot. And so we were in Canada. We were in Montreal when that happened. And I went to have a conversation with her. There was a paramedic unit there, and she was down there with him, and he made sure the glass was out, and he put a little Neosporin, put a Band-Aid on her foot. And so I went and had a conversation with her. And I said, so what happened? How did this happen? She goes, I celebrated too early. And I go, really? She goes, I did. And I go, how often does that show up in your life? And she said, all the time. I said, so I'm guessing you got the lesson. She said, I did. So thank you. We teach them when you do it. Don't step off that glass until we inspect your foot. No, don't do it. She didn't follow the directions. So, there's 3 ways to do it. There's safe, safer, and safest. We're over here in the safest part. So, but I figured you might ask, so I thought I'd cover it.
Right. Earlier you talked about Tony Robbins, that you've worked down with Tony Robbins for over 19 years. So why does he use firewalking to create massive change in people?
Yeah. Well, it was really smart on his part, because he knows that the Firewalk is, again, back to what I said earlier, it's one of the most life-changing experiences any human will go through, right? So, that night when we Firewalked, we were there. I was there with 3,500 people. And so once you Firewalk, you get down to what's called the celebration end, once you finish it. And people are jumping up and down, and they're excited, and they're screaming, and they're yelling, and they're celebrating. And I was no different. I was celebrating. And, as soon as I finished the Firewalk, it was exhilarating. I literally thought I could go accomplish anything. It was like, hey, people, where's the bus? Let's go to Mount Everest. Let's go climb the highest mountain on earth. I mean, you are on such a high, because it raises your self-worth, your self-confidence, and your self-belief. Well, I'll tell you where it gets interesting. I think you'll like this, Omobola. Was the next day. The Firewalk's the event's a 4-day event. We did the Firewalk on day 1 that night. On day 2, we all came into the foyer before we go into the venue. And to this day, I've never seen or experienced anything like it. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. People came in that next morning. They were changed. They were different people. Their self-worth, their self-confidence was just at an all-time high. And they were acting very humanistic. They were kind, they were gentle, they were enthusiastic, they were hugging, they were crying, they were talking about their fears, they were talking about the Firewalk. I've never seen or witnessed anything like it. It was just absolutely beautiful. And that's when I realized, wow, I guess we drank the Kool-Aid last night, because look how we're getting along. It's just, and that's what it does. It brings people together in an extraordinary way. And that's why he uses it. He knows.
Right. Dave, do you have any projects in the pipeline or any important, interesting news you'd like to share with my audience?
Okay. I'm sorry. Ask me that again.
Do you have any projects in the pipeline or any important or interesting information you'd like to share with my audience?
Well, I mean, if they want to get a hold of us, it's real easy. Just go to firewalkadventures.com. and everything's there. Next Tuesday, here next week, the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy takes place. So I've got a bunch of people coming from all over the world, and then I'm going to train them on all the things that we do. People that come to us, they typically know what they're doing. They're ready to hire us. They know that we're going to come in and create a spectacular experience for their people. And so when anybody, a lot of times they start on our website. So everything's there. How to get a hold of me, my calendar. We have videos about firewalking and glass walking and board breaking and brick breaking and rebar bending and arrow breaks. And, it's all there on the website. So we'd love to talk to you if you have an interest.
Sure. Rian, thank you so much, Dave Albin, for sharing your thoughts on today's show, especially talking about firewalking and also glasswork experience. I wish you the best of luck in all the projects you embark upon, Dave.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you.
Sure. I appreciate also your time and also your presence. If you like to catch up with any missed episodes of Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, you can catch up on any cross-promotion platforms or distribution platforms you bump into online, and do have a great time as you listen to experts and professionals share their thoughts on any topics or subjects under personal development and self-improvement. Now, I need you always to stay safe. I talk soon.